Hello guys, welcome to this video. This one is Add Math Paper 1 from October-November 2013. So I have received many requests of doing this paper, so here we go. Let's move on to question number 1. So as you can see, this one is a late night session, so I'll be doing the questions pretty fast. If you guys don't understand something, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So question number 1. So the diagram shows the graph of y equal to a sine curve something with this domain. This is 0 and 2 pi. So a, b, c are positive integers. So now what are integers? They are whole numbers, which is it can be -1, -2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So whole numbers, right? Question number 1 is to find the values of a, b, and c. So let's see how can we use this graph to find those values. So one thing we have to look first is for this value of c. So this value of c is called the baseline. So we take y equal to, this value is plus c, so plus c, that will be your baseline. Now the baseline has a job of cutting the curve or dividing the curve exactly into halves. If you observe, the curve is like this, and it is exactly half at this line, as you can see here. So basically, this will be the line y equal to 1. This will be your baseline. So c has to be the value of 1. Now moving on to part B. Now of course, there's many ways of doing this question, so one other way is pretty simple as well. This is also called the y-intercept, meaning it is where your curve cuts your y-axis. So look at this point, this is your y-intercept. And this point has value of 0, 1. This is your x, y. If you replace this back in your curve, you can find the value of c. So let's try. Y is 1. This is a sine of 0 plus c. So sine of 0 is 0. C will be the value of 1. So same as this one. This is for c. Now for part B, how can you find b and a? So let's do a first. It is easier. A is called the amplitude. So for any values before your sine is called the amplitude. Amplitude is basically the amount on both sides, which is the height and also the base, right? On both sides to be equal. This is the amplitude, and it is found by taking this value minus the baseline, that will be 3. Same thing here, this minus this, that will be 3. So the amplitude will be 3. So value of a will be 3. Now let's find the value of b. B, as you can see, it is right here. So to find b, we must first find the period of our curve. So let's see, our curve starts here and ends here. That is one cycle. Our curve takes pi radians to end one cycle. So we say the curve has a period of pi because it takes pi to complete one cycle. Now how do you find the period? You have to take the value of 2 pi. So 2 pi divide by this value of b to find the period. Now you solve. B has to be what? 2. Sorry, b, not d. B has to be value of 2. That is your question number 1. Now question number 2, we have to find the set of values of k for which this curve lies below the x-axis. So I did this question, I think, last week on a whole video on this question. If you guys need more understanding, check out the link in the description. I will leave a link for the whole explanation of this question. But for now, as you guys can see here, we have the x-axis. So what is the equation of the x-axis? As you guys know, at the x-axis, the value of y has to be 0. Great. Now we have to find the set of values of k for which the curve lies below. So if you look at this diagram here, this is my y and x. For it to lie below, has to have this shape, right? Because as you can see, this one is a quadratic function. It can only have this shape or this shape. Because it has to lie below, it can only have this shape. Okay? Now, when it lies below, it means that this one will not touch your y-axis. If it doesn't touch, you know something is, if there's no points of intersection, we know b squared minus 4ac has to be less than 0. But first, let's replace those two values you will have an equation which is k plus 1 x squared minus 3x plus k plus 1 equal to 0. Now this is a, this is b, and this is c. So b squared minus 4ac will give you b squared is 9 minus 4 times ac. So these are the same. That will be k plus 1 squared. Has to be less than 0. Right. Now we have to simplify. So 9 minus 4, that will be k squared plus 2k plus 1 less than 0. 9 minus 4k squared minus 8k minus 4 has to be less than 0. So here we have minus 4k squared minus 8k plus 5 is less than 0. Now I don't like to work with negative. I send everything to the other side. You will have 4k squared plus 8k minus 5, and the sign will change to more than 0. So as you can see, we have done this many times before. So to solve this, we must first find the critical values. So factorize and then equate to 0. That will be 2k, 5 will be 5 times 1. To get plus 8, we have to have plus 10 and minus 2. So k can be the value of half, and k can be the value of minus 5 over 2. So now we have to look at our graph. So this will be positive. It will be this shape, and this is the value that we have here. This is minus 5 over 2, and this is half, and this is your line of 0. Now we need this to be more than 0, so more will be above the 0. That will be this part and this part. So basically your answer should be k has to be less than minus 5 over 2, and k has to be more than half. But here we cannot take this value because of this reason. It has to be this shape. As you guys know, for your graph to be this shape, your coefficient of x squared has to be negative. And by taking this value here, it will be positive, and it will not be this shape. It will be this shape, and it will not be good. Because if it is this shape, it will cut your x-axis. It will not be below the x-axis. So that's why we only have to take this value as your answer. K is less than minus 5 over 2. That will be your question number 2. Now let's move on to question number 3. So we have to show the left hand side equal to the right hand side. So as always, begin from the left hand side, step by step. So left hand side. Now the first thing you can see is we have two fractions, so this, and the base are different, so we have to make them become the same base. So one way to do this is multiply them by each other. So cos theta times 1 plus sine theta. Then we have to cross multiply. You will have 1 plus sine theta times the same thing, that will be square, and then we have cos square theta. So simplify, that will become 1 plus 2 sine theta plus sine square theta plus cos square theta, dividing by the value of cos theta, 1 plus sine theta. Simplify, sine square theta plus cos square theta will be 1, so these two become 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 sine theta over cos theta, 1 plus sine theta. Simplify, we can factorize the 2 outside. You will have 1 plus sine theta. Divide by cos theta and 1 plus sine theta. Now it is pretty obvious these two will cancel out, right? So you will have 2. You can rewrite this as multiply by 1 over cos theta. Now you guys must know 1 over cos theta is simply sec theta, so that will be 2 sec theta. And this is shown as required for the question. That is question number 3. Let's move on to question number 4. So here we have two sets, A and B, defined by these domains and then this equation. So first thing I would say, let's find the values, right? Instead of beginning the question, let's first find the value. So A will be cos x is half for the value of x. So as you guys know, when cos is positive, it will be in the first quadrant, also in the fourth quadrant. This will be your angle, and this will be 360 minus the angle. So let's proceed step by step. So here we have x will be cos inverse of half. That will be 60. Well, you can use your calculator, of course, to find out the value if you want to. That will be 60. So from what you can see, it will be 60 and also 300, right? Because 360 minus 60 will be 300. But now, since our domain is more than 360, we have to try and see what other values we can have. So we have to add 360 to each of those values. So finally, x can be 60, that's the first two values, and 300. But also it can be 420, and also it can be 660. But now obviously 660 will be outside the domain, so we don't take this value. We only have three values. Number of values in A will be 1, 2, 3, so your answer will be 3. Now for part 2, we have to find number of values in B. So same steps. Well, let's first find the values in the set B. So we have tan x equal to root of 3. Now when tan is positive, it will be in your first quadrant, also in your third quadrant. That will be the angle, and that will be 180 plus the angle. So same thing, x will be tan inverse of root 3 that will be 60, but also 180 plus 60, that should be plus 180, 240, yep, 240. And now because the domain is more than 360, we have to add some values and see what happened to the values. So this will become x will be the first two values are the same. So 60 plus 360, that will be 420. And then 240 plus 360, that will be 600. So now all the values are inside the domain, so we can take all the four values. So we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so this will be 4 as your answer. Now question part 3, we have to find what? Find the elements of A union B. So pretty easy. This is A, this is B, so A union B. It is just everything together, but we just don't have to repeat the same values. So 60, 240, 300, right? 420, and 600. It is all the values without repeating the same values. That will be part 3. Now for part 4, we have to find what they have in common. So let's see what they have in common. So they have 60. They have 420. So only two values. That will be a set of 60 and 420. That will be this one. So that will be question number 4. Let's move on to question number 5. So we have to solve this integration. So one by one. So 9 will become 9x, and sine will become minus cos 3x over 3 plus c. That is your answer for part 1. So you have to know integration of sine x is minus cos x. You have to know that, right? Now for part 2, hence, so using the first part, find this value. So here we have limits, so we just have to replace the limits on this. So you have 9x minus cos 3x over 3. Now be pi by 9. So let's see what do we have here. So one by one, that will be 9 pi minus cos 3 pi over 3 minus 9 times pi over 9 minus cos 3 pi over 9 over 3. So let's simplify. So here we have to use radians. So what is cos of 3 pi? The minus 1. So you will have 9 pi minus 1 become plus 1 over 3. Minus, that will become cancel out pi And this one will be what? So simplify. Cos of pi over 3, that will be half. So minus half divided by 3, that will be 1 over 6. Okay, so right now we have this to solve. Let's see what do we get. So expand. 9 pi minus pi, that will be 8 pi. 1 over 3, minus minus become plus, so 1 over 3 plus 1 over 6, that will become half. Okay, so your answer in terms of a pi plus b, these two are constants. As you can see, these two are constant. So usually it can be confused with integers, but it is not integers, they can be any constant, so that will be the two values. So this is your answer for question number 5. Question number 6, the function f of x is given by this, where a and b are constants, is such that 2x minus 1 is a factor. So whenever you see this, you know something is that we have to take 2x minus 1 is equal to 0, so x will be the value of half. So whenever it is a factor, it means that the remainder will be 0, so hence we know something, f of half have to give you 0 because it is a factor. Replace the values in here, you will have a 1 half, so half cube will be 1 over 8 plus 4 times 1 over 4 plus b half minus 2 has to be 0. So simplify, we have a over 8 plus 1 plus b over 2 minus 2 is 0. So simplify, that will be a over 8 plus b over 2. 1 minus 2 is minus 1. Send this over here, will become 1. Now let's simplify this. Let's multiply by 8 everywhere, so we can have something easy to understand. You will have a plus 4b equal to 8. That will be equation number 1. Now moving on to this one here, we have, given that the remainder of f of x is divided by this one now, is twice, it is 2 times the remainder of f of x when divided by this value. So pretty easy. So we can derive that when f of x is divided by this value here is x minus 2 equate to 0, that will be x is 2, is 2 times f of this value, that will be minus 1. So replace the values and find an equation. So on the left hand side we have ax cubed, that will become 8a, and we have 4 square will be 4 times 4 will be 16, right? So this will be 2 squares 4 times 4 16, plus b times x will be 2 minus 2 equal to 2 times minus 1 will be minus a plus 4 minus b minus 2. Okay, so now we have to simplify. So step by step as always. So here we have 8a plus 16 plus 2b minus 2 minus 2a plus 8 minus 2b minus 4. So I really don't like those kind of questions. There's many small things, so it is pretty easy to make mistakes. So you have to be really careful while you expand the brackets and add in minus. So always be careful when you do these kind of questions. So now we have to send everything to one side. So 8a, when you send this, will become plus. So 8 plus 2 will be 10a. So 2b plus, that will be plus 4b. And then let's send the numbers on one side. You have 8 minus 4 is what? Is 4. And then we have this one, minus 16 plus 2. That will be minus 10. So divide by 2 everywhere, you will have 5a plus 2b is equal to minus 5. And that is your equation number 2. Okay, so now let's solve this two simultaneous equation. We can make a become the subject. You have a will be 8 minus 4b. Replace a in here, you will have 5 times a will be 8 minus 4b plus 2b equal to minus 5. That will be 40 minus 20b plus 2b equal to minus 5. Now you will have minus 18b minus 45. So b will be minus 45 divided by minus 18. That will be 2.5. Your answer is 2.5 for the value of b. Now the value of a will be 8 minus 4 times 2.5. That will be what? Minus 2. So a will be minus 2 and b will be 2.5 for this question. Now again, as I explained, this question can be pretty tricky here for the expansion and everything. If you guys see any mistake, let me know in the comments. Also comment the right answer so others can know as well. That will be question number 6. This one is permutation problem. So we have what? Find how many different 4-digit numbers can be formed from the digits 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9 if can be used only once. So pretty easy. We have to form a 4-digit number. So 1, 2, 3, 4 space. Now we can choose any numbers from this list. So let's see, for the first one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 options. Let's say we choose 1. Then we can choose, we have 5 options. Let's say we choose 3. Then we have 4 options. Let's say we choose 5. And we have 3 options. Let's say we choose 6. So in total we have 6 times 5 times 4 times 3. That will be 360 as your answer. Now if you guys like to use formulas, pretty easy. So everything will be 6 permutate 4. That should give you the same value as well. So 2 ways to find the same answer. Now for part 2, we have to find how many of these numbers, of these 4-digit numbers, are even. So let's write this down again. We have 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Now, for a number to be even, it has to end with an even number. So from the list we have 6 and 8 are even numbers. That makes sense, right? So we know that it has to end by those 2 numbers for it to be even. So again, same steps. 1, 2, 3, 4 space. Now we have to first look at this condition first because we need it to be even. So we only have 2 ways of ending this number. So 2 ways for it to be even. Let's say we choose 6. Now for the rest it can be anything. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. Let's say we choose 1, 4 options, we choose 3, and 3 options. Let's say we choose 5. So your answer will be 4, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2. That will be 120 as your answer. Now let's move on to part B. So here we have a team of 6 people is to be selected from 8 men and 4 women. So everyone together will be 12 people, right? So first one, find the number of different teams can be selected if, part 1, if there's no restriction. So basically we want to select 6 people from 12 people. So 12, choose 6. That will be 924. That will be your answer for part 1. Now condition we have, the team must contain all the 4 women. So we have 8 men and 4 women. And we want to choose 6 people. So we need to have 4, sorry, this should be W, women. So we want to choose all the 4 women, and which means we can only choose 2 men, right? Because we need 6 people in total. So from the 4, we choose all the 4, and from the 8, we have to choose 2 men. So 4 choose 4 times 8 choose 2, that will be 28 as your answer. Now for part 3, the team contains at least means more or equal to 4 men. So again, we have 8 men and 4 women. We want to choose 6 people. So at least 4 men will be 4. So we have to choose 2. It can be 5. I have to choose 1. Or it can be 6. Or we have to choose 0 women. So your answer will be case by case. That will be 8 choose 4 and then 4 choose 2, or 8 choose 5 times 4 choose 1, or 8 choose 6 times 4 choose 0. plus a choose 6 times 4 choose 0. That will be 672. So let's try again, because I always make mistakes on my calculator. Let's see again to see what are the values. So this is the first one, 8 choose 5 times 4 choose 1 plus 8 choose 6 times 4 choose 0. Okay. Seems to be the same answer, so that will be your answer for part B. That is question number 7. Okay, let's move on to question number 8. So on the grid below, sketch the graph of this, between this, and state the coordinates of the point where the curve meets the axis. So pretty easy. Let's first begin with that. So on the axis, we know what? We know on the x-axis, the value of y is 0. So equate, that will be x minus 2, x plus 3 have to be 0. So x have to be 2, and x have to be minus 3. So these are the points it will meet your x-axis. 2 is here, and then minus 3 will be here. Great. Now what else we need to know on the y-axis? So on the y-axis, let me find some space here. Okay, let's do it here. So on the y-axis, we know that x is 0. That will be, replace here, you will have y is equal to, so first let's have a look without the modulus sign. You will have 0 minus 2 is 0, sorry, minus 2 times 3, that will be minus 6. That will be without the modulus sign. So let me mark my graph here. Let me say, for example, we only have to sketch, so it doesn't need to be exact. We can just, let's say I'll mark minus 6 to be somewhere. Let me just put this around here, minus 6. This is for now, okay? And what else we need to do? We need to, okay, it is only between those two numbers, so between minus 5 and 4. So we have to see what are the limits, right? So let's put back the values. Minus 5, minus 2, multiplied by minus 5 plus 3. That will be 14. So minus 5 will be 14, should be somewhere, let's say about here. And then for 4, so 4 minus 2 times 4 plus 3, that will be 14 as well. So again, somewhere about here. Okay, now let's see what can we do. Again, let's it is only a sketch, so we can do that pretty easily. So that will be like this. And then that will be something like this. Okay, so the reason why I stop here is because we have to consider the value of the modulus. Modulus means everything below will be reflected onwards. So let me first do a draft. So you'll be using a pencil, of course, right, when you draw something. So usually your graph will look like this without the modulus. Something like this. Right? And then of course you will have to reflect this on top because of the modulus sign. So you will just have to kind of reflect it. Should be somewhere about this point here, for example. So let's say it should be okay. Let's say it is something like that. Doesn't need to be exact, but you get the idea. So here that will be your point of 6. You have to show where it cuts your axis. 6, 2, and 3. And then you will of course erase this part with you, because this is not part of the answer. You have to erase the bottom one and only the top will remain. Of course you have to label your graph as minus 2 and then x plus 3. And you have to show the value here, that is 14, right? Because that was 14 and 14. Okay, so that will be part 1 of the question. Now let's move on to part 2. So we have to find the coordinates of the stationary points on the curve. So pretty easy. As you guys know already, at stationary point, what do we know? We know that dy by dx have to be 0. So let's begin with the first step is, first let's ignore the modulus. So you have y is given by, expand the brackets, you will have x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6. That will be x squared plus x minus 6. That is y. So dy by dx will be what? 2x plus 1 has to be 0. X will be minus 1 over 2. And then value of y will be what? Replace back in your main equation. That will be minus half square plus minus half minus 1. Minus 6, sorry. That will be minus 6, 1 over minus 6, 1 over 4, which is basically minus 6.25, and this is minus 0.5. Now again, this one is without the modulus, so that will be the usually, it will be here, but we have to reflect this on the positive side. So your value here will be, this will be the maximum point has to be what? Minus 0.5, but has to become the positive value. It will be 6.25. So your point will be minus 0.5 and 6.25. Okay, that will be your stationary point. That is part 2. Now for part 3, given that k is a positive constant, okay, that is good to know. State the set of values of k for which this is k has only 2 solutions. So as you have observed, this is your diagram, your curve you have just drawn, equal to k has 2 solutions. So it is pretty easy question, but you just have to understand what's happening. For example, so you first have to know y equal to a constant. It is basically a horizontal line, so you have to know that in the first place, right? So we want to know for what values of k it has only 2 solutions. So let's see. So if I were to draw the line here, you would say this one has 4 solutions because it has 4 points of intersection, so it is not good. I have to move up, right? So by moving up here, let's say I touch this one, I will have 1, 2 and 3 solutions. It will not be good enough, so I have to be at least above this line so I can have only 2 solutions. Of course, you will not be drawing this on the main graph because it will not be good. You can try this below here, but the main point is for you to understand, by drawing a horizontal line, we want the line to have only 2 solutions. As you can see, anything above this point will give you 2 solutions. So k has to be above your maximum point, more than 6.25. That will be your answer for part 3 and question number 8. Let's move on to question number 9. So differentiate this with respect to x. So step by step, this one is a product, as you can see. So we have to use the product rule. So d by dx will be, we leave the first one by itself, and that will be d by dx of this one will be 2x plus 1 times 2, and plus leave the second one by itself, and then do by dx of the first one, that will become 12x squared. So simplify, you will have this time this will be 8x cubed over 2x plus 1, and this time this will be 12x squared ln of 2x plus 1. And this is your answer for part 1, part A. Now part 2, part B. Given that y equal to this, we have to show this equal to this. So this one is clearly what? It is a fraction, so you have to use the quotient rule. So dy by dx has to be, so first you have to write down the denominator as it is, so that will be this, multiply by the differentiation of the numerator, that will be 2, and then minus, now we have to leave the numerator as it is, and multiply by the differentiation of the denominator. So you have to know this is simply what? Simply this, power half. And then d by dx will become half first. That will be x plus 2 minus half. Of course, you have to take everything, divide by the base square. X plus 2 power half square. So simplify, these two will cancel out. And then what else we need to know is this will cancel out. So you will have 2, this plus 2 minus, that will become x on top. This will go to the base, that will be x plus 2. And of course this will be divided by, this will be, you know what, let's not simplify. We will have root of x plus 2 square, right? The reason why I don't want to simplify is because we have to show this. Okay, that's why I don't want to simplify. That will make my life easier. So now let's simplify the top part of the fraction. So as you can see here, we have two fractions and the base are different. So what do? We'll make it become the same base, right? So to make it become the same base, we have to multiply them by each other. You will have 1 time this will be same thing, and then cross multiply. You will have 2. This time this will become x plus 2 minus this, that will be x. So everything again over this square. Now simplify. We have 2x plus 4 minus x, that will become 2x minus x will be x, and plus 4, and that will be over this and this. So a way to look at this is, let's simplify this. So for example, let's call this one a, and the base, let's call this b, divide by b squared. So how do you simplify this? Let's see. How can we simplify? So if you have b divided by b squared, because this one can be written as 1, right? B is basically b power 1. This is the same base. We can simplify this together. That will become b. So this will be over 1, of course, because we have b squared. So what is b squared? It is b squared over 1, right? So whenever you have a fraction divided by another fraction, we can combine them, because you want to change the divide sign into multiply. So first you leave the first part alone by itself. Same thing, change divide to multiply. You will have 1 over b squared. That will be a over b cubed, right? I hope that makes sense. So let me write this down again, because that was kind of confusing here. For example, I call this a, I call this b, this will be b squared. So right now, for example, we have a over b divided by b squared. As you guys know, whenever we have division for fraction, we don't like to divide, we'll have to change the divide sign to multiply. So you will have a over b, change that to multiply, and we have to flip this upside down. That will give you a over b cubed. So same thing here, this will become a is the same thing, and then b cubed will be, this will be b cubed, and this is shown as required. Okay, this is for part B. Now let's move on to question number 2. Hence find this. So whenever you see hence, it means using the value from the other part of the question. So if you observe from the other part, we have done what? We have done this. We have dy by dx give you this value. So we have to know this means, so this means if you were to integrate this value, so square cube, they have to give you the initial value, which was this one. So by differentiating this, we get this, but by integrating this, we have to get back the same value at first. So you will have 2x over this value. That will be the initial value. So by using this thing, we have to find this. So if you observe here, what do we have? If you factorize 5 outside, you will have x plus 4 over this thing. But now we know that we know that this thing is equal to this thing, as you can see here. So the answer will be 5 times 2 will be 10x over this. Now with the option, if you want to write C, you can write, but you don't need to write here. So, but that will be your answer for part 2. Hence, evaluate this integration. So we just have to replace the values in the fraction. So that will be what? So that will become, so that will be 10x over root x plus 2 between the values of 7 and 2. That will be 70 over 9, right? 7 plus 2 is 9, minus 20 over root of 4. That will give you 70 over 3 minus 20 over 2. 70 over 3 minus 10. That will be 13 and 1/3 as your answer. That will be your question number 9. Let's move on to question number 10. So solutions to this question by drawing will not be accepted. So you have to show every step of your work, and plus you have to show all the calculation to find your answers. Now we have the points A and B. It is the vertices of an isosceles triangle ABC where the angle B is 90. For example, we can make a drawing so we can understand what's happening. So that will be somewhat your triangle. That will be A, B, and C. This is 90, and these two are the same because it is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so let's see what can we do now. So part 1, we have to find the length of AB. So we can use our formula for that. So the length of AB will be square root x2 minus x1, that will be 4 square. This minus this will be 2 square. That will be 16 plus 4 root of 20. So AB will be root of 20. That is part 1. You have to write units if you want to. It is up to you. Now for part 2, we have to find the equation of line BC. So this line BC. So first thing we have to, so to find the equation of a line, we must first find the gradient of the line. So as you can see, BC is perpendicular to AB. So we can first find the gradient of AB. That will be y2 minus y1. So 4 minus 2 over x2 minus x1. That will be 2 over 4. That will be half. So from this we conclude that gradient of BC have to be minus 2 because it is perpendicular, right? So now we have a passing point B, which is the point 1, 4. So we can use that to find the equation of BC. That will be y minus 4 over x minus 1 has to be minus 2. So cross multiply, you will have y minus 4 is equal to minus 2x plus 2. So you have y equal to minus 2x plus 6 as your equation for BC. That is part 2. Now let's move on to part 3 of the question. So we have to find the possible values of C, of the two possible values of C. So if you look at this drawing here, for example, right, we have this one. For example, that was B, A, and C. Same, and 90. So this is one possible option, but C could also be on the other side. It could also be here, right? That's why we have two options for the value of C. So that's why we have to find these two options. So anyways, let's move on to the values now. So what do we know from part 1 and 2? So from part 1, we know that the length of AB is root 20, which means BC has to be also root 20 because it is isosceles, right? Now we know the equation of BC has been found to be y equal to minus 2x plus 6. Okay. Now we know how can we find the length of BC? We know B is given to us by 1, 4, and C we don't know, x and y. So let's find the length of BC because we know BC has the length of root 20, but let's pretend we are trying to find the length of BC. So you will do square root x minus 1 square plus y minus 4 square give you root of 20. So we can cancel out the root value, and then we have to simplify. So they will become x squared minus 2x plus 1. But for this one, before we simplify, you can see here we have y, and here we have y as well. This is your line BC, right? So we can replace the value of y by, so let's replace that by minus 2x plus 6 minus 4 square. That will be what? That will be minus 2x plus 2 square, which is same as 2 minus 2x square. Now we can simplify. That will give you the values of 4 minus 8x plus 4x square. So replace, you will have this plus 4 minus 8x plus 4x square equal to 20. So simplify to see what happens. So what do we have here? So here we have this plus this, that will become 5x square, and then we have this, that will become minus 10x, and then we have 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 minus 20 is minus 15. 0. So we have an equation. So we have to simplify first. Divide by 5 everywhere, you will have x squared minus 2x minus 3 is 0. So we can factorize this equation. X, 3 is 3 times 1. To get minus 2, we have to have minus 3 plus 1. So x have to be 3, x have to be minus 1. So for the value of 3, y will be 0. And for this one, y will be minus, replace the value here, right? So minus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 6 will be, so minus 6 plus 6 will be 0. That will be what? Here will become minus 2 times minus 1 is 3 plus 6 will be 9. Okay, so that will be the two values. So that will be 3, 0, and minus 1, 9. That will be the two possible values of C. That will be question number 10. Let's move on to question number 11. It is given that the matrix A is this. Find this, very easy. So A will be 2, 4, 3, 1 plus 2i is basically 2, 0, 0, 2, because I is equal to 1, 0, 0, 1. Something you have to know for sure. So simplify. 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 0 is 3, 4 plus 0 is 4, and 3, 1 plus 2 is 3. That will be your answer for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to find a square. You have to know a square is basically a times a. Okay, you have to know this. This is exactly how it is done. It is not taking a and square it. It is not good. It is a times a. So a will be 2, 4, 3, 1 times the same thing. So rows by column. So rows by column. 2 times 2 plus 3 times 4. That will be 16. Rows by column. 2 times 3 plus 3 times 1. That will be 9. So rows by column. So 4 times 2 plus 1 times 4. That will be 12. And 4 times 3 plus 1 times 1. That will be 13. Okay, that will be your answer for part 2. Now for part 3, using your answer to part 2, find B such that we have this. So let's see how can we do here. So as you can see, we want to eliminate this value of this to get the value of B. So we have to multiply, pre-multiply this by its inverse. So we can eliminate the value of a square. So that we can have only B. So a square inverse multiplied by a square, they will cancel out. So you have B is equal to, so whenever you multiply a matrix by the I matrix, it will be the same matrix. So your answer will be a square inverse. So B is basically the inverse of a square. So let's see. So first, to find inverse, we have to find the determinant. That will be cross multiply. So you have 16 times 13 minus 12 times 9. That will be 100. And the adjoint matrix of a squared will be, that will be 13, 16, minus 12, minus 9. So your answer will be what? So finally, B has to be inverse of a squared. That will be 1 over determinant times the adjoint matrix. Okay, that will be your answer for B. That will be question part 3. Okay, so now we have question part B. So given the matrix C is this, we have to show it is not equal to 0. Okay, so pretty easy. How do you find determinant? So we have to cross multiply first. X times x minus 1 minus minus 1 times x squared minus x plus 1. So these two will become plus, cancel out. X squared minus x, that will become plus x squared minus x plus 1. That will become 2 x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now, so how do we know it is not equal to 0? We have to see if it has solutions or not, right? That will be A, B, and C. So A, B, and C. We'll test b squared minus 4ac to see what happens. That will be b squared is the value of, that will be 4, right? 4 times A times C. That is equal to 4 minus 8, that is minus 4, which is less than 0, which is not equal to 0. So you have shown that it is not equal to 0. That's why it will be less. That's why we have shown that it is this. So this is proven, part B. That is good. And now for part 12. So we have a function f given by this, between this. Find the range of f. So we first have to find the values of f at these 2 points because it is equal sign. F of minus 10 will be what? 3 minus 10 square minus 1. That will be 299. And then we have f of 8. That will be 3, 8 square minus 1. That will be 191. Again, you have to know this one is a quadratic function. So if it is positive, you will have a shape like this, right? You have to kind of know this. Now, as you can see, we will have a minimum point. We have to find the y value of this minimum point. So again, at minimum point, dy by dx have to be 0. So d by dx of this will become 6x has to be 0. X have to be 0. So y have to be minus 1. So your minimum value will be minus 1. So your graph is something like this. Does that make sense? This is the value of minus 1. This is 191, and this is the value of 299. So the range is the y values. We are looking at this length. Okay, so basically you can write the range, or you can just write y or f of x or f. It is between the values of minus 1 and the max value is 299. That is your answer for part 1. Now for part 2, write down a suitable domain for the for f for which this exists. Now you have to know, for an inverse to exist, it has to be a one-to-one function. So what does that mean? It means that right now our graph looks like this, right? If you were to draw a line, it will cut at 2 points, and because of that, it does not have an inverse. You will need to define your domain for which you will have the inverse. For example, my graph looks like this. I know this is the point, 0, right? X is 0, from what you can see here. So what if I remove this part? I remove this. So now if I draw a line, it would only cut at 1 point. So that is when it is a one-to-one function, and now I have my inverse. So defined by, if x is more than 0, because it is less than 8, so we can write domain can be between 0 and 8. Now you could also say, hey, you know what, I don't like this one, I can do this. I can do this part. So again, same steps. We know this is x is 0. What if I remove this side now? That is okay as well, because by removing this side, I have only also 1 point. That will give me between. This is one-to-one function, so that will be possible to have an inverse. So x can also be between 0, and here will be the max value is minus 10. So you have two possible answers. This or this can be your answer. That will be part 2. Now for part B of this question, we have g and h are defined by those to find g inverse. So first let y equal to g of x. So y will be 4 exponential x minus 2. So simplify, you have we have to make x become the subject, so you will have y plus 2 is equal to 4 exponential x. So 4 exponential x will be, yeah, no worries, we can rewrite this again, y plus 2. Exponential x have to be y plus 2 divided by 4. So x have to be ln of y plus 2 over 4. So finally, g inverse of x have to be ln x plus 2 divided by 4. That will be your answer for part 1. Now for this one, let's solve this. We have to find the value of x for which we have this. So pretty simple. First, we have g of h of x. Replace the value of h of x inside of g. So you will have 4 exponential. X is now h of x. That will be h of x minus 2 equal to 18. So you will have 4 exponential h of x equal to 20. Exponential h of x is equal to 5. And finally, h of x is equal to ln 5. Now we have the value of h of x, which is ln of 5x. So ln of 5x is equal to ln of 5. Because they have the same logarithm, we can cancel out. So you will have 5x is equal to 5, which means x have to be 1. Okay, and that is your answer for your question number 12. So that was the last question of this paper, and I hope that is kind of helpful. As always, if you guys have any questions, let me know, and thank you for watching. I will see you soon.